several methods of ensuring the ability of the public to comment prior to and during the virtual meeting. It has established these options. Number one, during the meeting, the public can provide public comment via telephone by calling 415-655-0002. The meeting ID is 2305-601-2259. Individuals will be able to speak for 3 minutes during the public comment period. Again, to make public comment today during the meeting, members of the public should call 415-655-0002 with the meeting ID 2305-601-2259. The second option allowed for public comment is to submit written comments prior to the meeting via mail to PSTA. With that being said, are there any members of the public on the phone who wish to speak?
There are no public comments.
Okay. For the record, let's see. Now we're going to do the call to order, and I will be calling off of the attendance list that was sent to me of those who confirmed their attendance with staff at PSTA. Okay, so the first person on the list is me. I am present. Next, we're going to go down. Is Roman here? Please unmute and say that you're here. Okay. Carla Correa?
Oh, yes, Roman is here. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Roman. Carla Correa? Gloria, BPAC Oregon?
I'm here.
Thank you. Andrea Barron?
I am here.
Wonderful. Jay James?
I'm here.
Thank you. Chelsea Snyder?
Here.
This person. Terry Dumfrey? I thought I saw her on the call.
I'm here.
Okay. Sebastian Zamardo? I thought I saw him on the call.
Sebastian is here. He's just having technical difficulties.
Thank you. Jenna Sierra? Bob Bowles? And Kim Ranking.
Here.
Thank you. Is there anybody's name from the PST committee that I did not call?
I didn't hear you call Mark Boyce, but maybe I missed it.
I don't have you, which I have a yes that you confirmed, but thank you for being here. Anybody else on the committee who did not have their name called?
Just a note, Mark, we're going to mark Bob Bowles as attending. He's just being connected shortly.
Thank you. Okay, I'll get rid of this. All right. All right. All right, now we'll move on to number 3 on our agenda for today, and that's the chairperson's report. Good afternoon again, TRAC members and panelists. In the interest of time, I'll briefly mention topics that were covered at the April 27th PSTA board meeting. There was a state legislative update by PSTA's lobbyists reviewing the status of transit funding for grants, transportation disadvantage, and late shift program. The board unanimously approved staff recommendation to expand the TG eligibility to 200% of the Florida poverty level, which will allow PSTA to serve more Pinellas County residents. All right, so let's move on to number 4 on our list. That's the Forward Pinellas report. And I believe for that, we're going to be going to Gloria.
Okay, good. I've got I'm unmuted, right?
Yep.
I was not in town for the last CAC meeting, but I talked to Duncan Kovar, who was there. And first of all, he said to say hi to all of you. And I looked at the agenda also from last CAC. And, you know, the 2 key things, he said they talked about the final unified planning program, which involves 6 counties doing their land use and transportation planning together. And he said it was the thing that was the most striking to him about that, for all of us to remember, is the discipline that's involved in planning all these things. He thought it was wonderful, and it was wonderful that Pinellas and Pasco and Hillsborough really work together on making sure that their plans are to some extent integrated. And then the second piece that was critical was they did this, Abhishek did the SunRunner Rising Development Study presentation. And I guess he's going to be doing that or some measure of that today for us. So that was the CAC was very favorable toward that. They thought that was a very wonderful program. And just a couple real quick little side notes. I also am a member of the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee for Forward Pinellas, and we just had our meeting yesterday. And one thing that I thought was interesting, you know how we gave our Star Award to Forward Pinellas for the underpass that they're putting in at Republic Drive when they do the expansion on US 19. Well, apparently the car dealers there, once again, tried to revisit that and tried to have that undone. And we're pleased to report that Forward Pinellas held steady, and we are still going to have a pedestrian walkway for those of us who are taking buses on 19 and want to be able to pass safely. So it's always good to know that our sister agencies or all the agencies work together to try to protect our needs. So that was it.
Thank you so much for that update, Gloria. Really appreciate it. Next, we're going to move into our informational items. And first up is going to be an update on the SunRunner project in St. Petersburg. And with that, we're going to Abhishek, excuse me.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Abhishek Dayal, Director of Project Management. It's good to see all of you. I'm just going to give a quick update. I think I'm sharing my screen here. Hopefully you can all see the screen. So I'm going to change it to the presentation mode. And so the SunRunner Bus Rapid Transit project, it's moving really rapidly in terms of construction. And I wanted to give a quick update on where things are. Most of you are familiar with the route, connects downtown St. Petersburg through First Avenues and goes down to South Pasadena and in St. Pete Beach. All in all, one way it's 10.3 miles with 16 stops. If you start from one end to another, you'll have 16 stops along the way in St. Petersburg, South Pasadena, and St. Pete Beach. Total travel time is 35 minutes between St. Pete and St. Pete Beach. Now compare that with our Central Avenue trolley bus. That bus takes about 55 minutes from the same two endpoints. So a significant travel time savings with all the improvements that I'll talk about here shortly. One of the biggest improvements or the big feature of this project are bus and turn lanes, approximately 2/3 of the route. Most of these lanes are along First Avenues, north and south, along Pasadena Avenue, and that's the 6.5 miles of the 10.3 mile route. What these lanes do is help give the bus more space and predictability in being able to move around across the county. We'll also have 30 station platforms. Each of those stations will have real-time bus arrival information on the screens. We're also going to have some artwork on the stations that are located within the city of St. Petersburg limits. And also SunRunner buses, which many of you might have seen, the Mr. Sun on the side of the bus. All of those will be featured as part of this project. And then we'll also have transit signal priority along the route. In case the buses are running late, buses can actually catch up to their schedule by asking for signal priority along the route. And then finally, we'll also have a really cool feature on this service, and that's bike racks inside the bus as opposed to outside the bus to, again, speed things up for the buses and give it that rapid service feature. So total project cost is $43.9 million with funding coming from Federal Transit Administration. That's the bulk of the funding that's being part of the project. And then FDOT is contributing $10.5 million. Actually, it's now $11 million that they are contributing towards this project. We just got another $500,000 from FDOT, so very thankful for that. City of St. Petersburg and PSTA will be providing the balance of the funds towards this project. And I'll just say, and I say it in all the presentations, that we are one of the first projects. We are not one of them, but we are the first projects in the Tampa Bay region to have received federal funding through the New Starts program, which is a highly competitive program for these types of projects. So on the construction front, we have completed the concrete platforms, all 30 of them. They're all done, and many of you, if you've driven down First Avenue North and South, it's kind of hard to miss. You can see them. And right now, our contractor is working on some miscellaneous construction around those stations, making sure that those stations are linked with crosswalks, the ramps, as well as sidewalks. Those are all fixed and ADA compliant and can connect safely to those stations at those intersections. Right now, our contractor is also working on paving the bus lanes or the bus and turn lanes red with red asphalt. And essentially that will really highlight what those bus lanes are going to look like, they're going to be. And I have a few photos of what those red asphalt paving looks like. And then I noted the transit signal priority. So our contractor is also working with City of St. Petersburg and Pinellas County, their traffic management groups to upgrade the traffic signals to allow for that signal priority for our buses. And then many of the locations, we've already started deploying the shelters at those concrete platforms. Again, you might have seen a few of them along First Avenue, primarily along First Avenue South, maybe a few on First Avenue North as well. And then on the technology front, we're working with our contractor to make sure all the technology components are running, they're being tested. They haven't been deployed yet, but we're testing them in our shop. And those are the cameras, the screens, the transit signal priority equipment. All of those equipment are being tested right now. As far as the bus lanes is concerned, just to give a quick overview of what those bus lanes are supposed to do, these not only allow for buses to use them, but cars can actually use those lanes to make a turn. So essentially, you can think of these bus and turn lanes as a really long left turn only lane or a right turn only lane, depending on where these bus lanes are located. These are going to be red pigmented asphalt, and this is kind of a rendering that shows a BAT lane right off of 5th Street North and First Avenue North. And then we'll also have some signage all along the BAT lanes to let motorists know what the intended use for these BAT lanes are going to be for. So here are a couple of photos of what those BAT lanes are looking like. And the photos that you see here are from Pasadena Avenue. You can see that right lane it looks quite a bit different from the other lanes. And that's the intent for them to look quite a bit different so that motorists can easily see that this is a different lane as opposed to a travel lane. So we are in the process of installing those bus lanes, and the intent is that as soon as those lanes are placed, we will enforce those restrictions so that our PSTA buses can start using them. We are still running Central Avenue trolley buses. We're running other routes along these roads, so we expect those buses to start using those BAT lanes. So all in all, we expect all that work to be completed by next month for the entire stretch of the corridor on First Avenue North, First Avenue South, and Pasadena. And then you can also see some signage that we've started to put up Here on the left photo, you can see the one on Pasadena Avenue with right lane, buses only. There's a bike symbol there as well, which means that bikes can also use that lane for that stretch of the corridor. So we'll start placing those signs all along the route. Now, understanding that the bus and turn lanes, this is a new concept here in the Tampa Bay region. So we're working with our marketing team, outreach team, Bob leading the way, to really educate folks on how these BAT lanes work. So we've created flyers on how these BAT lanes are working, what to do, and how to navigate around these BAT lanes. We've also been talking to St. Pete Police Department and Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, just to help get the word out, just to educate folks on how to use these BAT lanes. The whole focus here is just education, because this is a new concept. We totally understand, and we wanted to make sure we do things right with a lot of outreach and education before the service begins. So I'll just go through some really quick photos of construction on different portions of the corridor, starting with First Avenue South and Pinellas Way. You can kind of see a red dot that shows where on the corridor these photos are from. So you can see we've started putting those platforms and the blue handrails, as well as we've put a shelter here. In some cases, we've also put pedestrian crosswalks with the rectangular rapid flashing beacons so that people can safely cross the street. Because we did hear from the community, from the neighborhoods, that they were concerned about the high speeds on First Avenue North and South. So we wanted to make sure that we had a safer way for folks to cross over and access the stations. Next is at 40th Street on First Avenue South. This location does not currently have a traffic signal. So we are actually putting in a traffic signal, again, to allow for pedestrians and even folks on a bike to be able to safely cross the street and access these stations. You can see here on the photo, we've got the handrails and the shelters installed. There's still a little bit of work remaining on many of these, actually all of these stops. So that is ongoing, but I just wanted to show the latest on where things are. Moving into downtown, you can see here on 8th Street and First Avenue South, this is the one across from Publix. You can see how the shelter being installed along with the handrails. The Pinellas Trail, the bike trail, is right behind it. So it works really nicely with this location. Folks can actually access the shelter, access the station off of the Pinellas Trail. There's also a Coast Bike Share station right next to it. So you can do a kind of you can rent a bike and get on and off the station. And then on to First Avenue North at 5th Street North. This is a station that we unveiled a few months ago. Back in December, we had an event here with the artwork and all the glass panels also installed. We've got a bench here and the totem and all the amenities that have been installed here. Again, there's still a little bit of a work involved here at this station. It's not completely done. We still are going to be putting in the screens, those passenger screens, to let folks know when the next bus is coming. That's going to be installed here. And then we're also going to be putting cameras, security cameras at all of these stations. And then finally, I wanted to just quickly mention or show the bike racks that we're installing inside our buses. This is actually a pretty cool concept where you can bring your bike through the rear door of the bus. You don't have to pull the bike rack down in front of the bus like we do today. You can board the bus with your bike from the rear door. And if you see the photo on the right-hand side, that's the area where you actually stick your front wheel of the bus. And through a spring mechanism, it actually pulls the bike vertically. and you can actually have those bikes the way that it's shown on those photos. It's a very interesting concept that we work with our bike rack manufacturer and our own team to come up with this. And we work with the city's bike committee and bike staff also to make sure that this is a safe way for people to be able to use these bike racks. Each bus will have 3 such bike racks, which is more than what we normally have on our regular buses. And again, this is a way to really speed things up for buses as they stop at the stations. And then as far as the upcoming SunRunner activities, we are doing a lot of driver training. We're working with the supervisors. We're also working with the city of St. Petersburg and Pinellas County staff on testing those traffic signals to allow for the signal priority for our buses. We'll beginning next month and into July, we'll also be installing those totems with those screens that tell when the next bus is coming, and along with the art panels in all the city of St. Pete stations. Those will begin in middle to late June and into July. Tentatively, we're looking at fall of 2022 for project opening. And depending on how these driver training and all the other installation work is done, we are expecting this to be done and open for service in fall of 2022. An exact date is coming soon, really soon. So we will let you know. We'll give you plenty of advance notification on the service running. The operating hours will be from 6 a.m. to midnight, all 7 days a week. And we do anticipate the service to be fare-free until March of 2023. And, obviously the project of this magnitude, we do rely on a lot of communication, working with Bob and his team to make sure that, particularly when we're in construction, that we let our stakeholders know in a timely manner. So we do have a dedicated construction website that tells the folks where construction is happening, if there are any lane closures, if there are any detours that the public should know about. We also have a dedicated phone line where folks can call into. They can leave a message and we will get back to them on any question they might have. I know Bob and his team have been distributing construction alert postcards to let folks know about this construction website, directing the traffic to our website to get the latest information. And I know they've also walked the corridor to let the homeowners and businesses all along the corridor and near stations to let them know about the project, the construction activities, and any associated impacts or concerns. And then we also work very extensively to let our partners, our cities, our public information officers for us and for the cities to let them know about this, any kind of upcoming updates. So with that, I am happy to take any questions. Again, I'm really excited about the phase of the project that we're in and hope you are too, and looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that presentation about the SunRunner. I was downtown this weekend and saw it. If there's anybody that has a question or a comment, if you could raise your virtual hand. I see Gloria's raising her real hand, so that counts too. And Gloria, you're up first.
And I just raised my virtual hand too.
Thank you.
I had 2 quick questions. First of all, you talked about the routes where regular routes are running, like the beach trolley and stuff like that. Are the regular routes going to continue the same way that they did before, or any of those going to be modified with the SunRunner there? And how do clients, riders know which ones they should take when they take them?
Did we?
Maxwell Johnson, if you could please kindly mute so we can hear the others. SCP-3. Thank you.
Great question, Gloria. Yes, we are working with our planning team to identify how we modify the bus routes that are already operating in that same corridor. You noted the Central Avenue trolley service. We might be looking to see what type of modifications we want to make to the Central Avenue trolley service so it works in conjunction with the SunRunner. So that's something that we're definitely working on and aware of. But the good news is that all our services that use essentially the same road, they can also benefit from those bus and turn lanes to make them also speed up. And so I think it's beneficial to all the services. Can you repeat your second question, please?
Well, no,
Gloria?
it was just a question of how do you then let riders know that which ones they should take, and if you need this for this.
Absolutely, and that's something that we will also do as part of our service changes. When we do service changes, we do communicate to our riders. These are all the routes that are being impacted or changed or modified accordingly. So we will address that through that same process.
And one other real quick question. Are any of these going to be electric buses since we're getting all the electric buses?
We're going to start off with hybrid electric buses for the SunRunner. But certainly we will be looking to maybe at some point have them as all electric in the future. As you know, we do need infrastructure, charging infrastructure for those electric buses. We don't quite have that in place here along the SunRunner corridor, which is why we decided to just go with the hybrid for now. But, we're obviously very much into electric buses and look forward to converting them at some point.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback off of something that Gloria brought up because there was a question I had too. So like when the SunRunner gets closer to downtown St. Pete, so east of the interstate, for example, will the routes that all start converging in downtown St. Pete use a SunRunner station too, or will they have a separate stop?
In some cases, they do. And in some cases, they will not. The biggest, I guess, maybe the easiest way to explain is, as you know, our stations are, particularly on First Avenue North, they are floating stations. And our local buses, they essentially stop at the bus stops that are curbside. So it would be difficult for them to be able to access those floating stations.
Right.
But for SunRunner stations that might be on the curbside, in certain situations, certain locations, they will be sharing the SunRunner.
Yeah, I was thinking more along First Avenue South when they all start coming together there to head into downtown. All right, Chelsea Snyder, do you have a question?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but we can't see you. There's something over your camera.
Yeah, I can't hardly hear you, so I have to put the phone to my ear.
Okay, do you have a question?
Yeah, my comment is I live north of Central on 58th Street. And when I plan my trips now, Google Maps only lists the SunRunner. It does not list the trolley anymore. And the app I don't know what it's called. I know it's green that I downloaded that PSTA said tells you where the buses are. That app does both the SunRunner and all the buses on one screen, but Google Maps does not anymore. I just wanted to let you guys know. I don't know why they're doing that, but it might confuse people that are new in the area.
Yeah, thank you. We did notice that in our Google Transit feed that the SunRunner was coming up because we are testing the SunRunner and doing some training. And so we're trying to get that out of the feed. So that should be fixed soon. Thank you so much for bringing it up though.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have questions regarding the SunRunner? Okay. All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that great presentation. With that, we're going to move on to Debbie Leah, since she has information about federal grant programs.
Thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate that introduction. And I need to put this, I think, in presentation mode. And I don't know why it's not going there. Yep. I apologize for the little delay here.
While Debbie's doing that, I will mention that
There we go.
some of you may know both Deborah and I are from Buffalo, the Buffalo area, and the NFTA, the bus system for Erie and Niagara County, is giving free rides to the people in the area all around the tragedy that happened last Saturday.
Yes, very, very sad. And as far as making this in presentation mode in Zoom, I just can't hit my F5, so.
Hi, Debbie. There's a on the bottom of your screen. There should be a screen like a book in a next to the negative arrow on the bottom. You should hit that. It's a PowerPoint slide. Go down.
Where?
Bottom right on the bottom is there where they have note and they have the like all the small icon next to 120.
The little
Down a little
movie
bit.
screen.
This one?
To the left. Go to the left. Yeah, but
Here?
next to the negative. Yes, that one.
Okay. All right. Well, see, I learned something in Zoom today. So that is good. Thank you, Vu. Well, I don't always get the opportunity to speak to the TRAC committee, so I'm very happy to do that. It's a pleasure to be here, and hopefully we'll be in person shortly. And one of the things I do as CFO is I help to put together financial plans. And we all have dreams here at PSTA, much like the BRT was a dream, which is now a reality. And every year we take and put together all of our capital projects, and it's called a CIP. And that capital improvement program is funded primarily by the federal government. And so what we do is we put together a list of these projects that are federally funded, called a program of projects. And with the approval of the board, we can move forward with applications to be able to get the money. And the federal money comes basically in two different flavors. One is formula funds, and every transit agency in the country gets some formula funds that they can use for either capital or operating. We choose to use ours almost exclusively for capital. We also have been very successful with the great planning department in getting some discretionary and earmark awards, as you can see on here. Now, what's important about this slide is the $20 million worth of formula funds is about 25% greater than we got last year. So many thanks to the federal government for that. And you can see with the hard work that we've done, we have almost another 20 million in discretionary for an eye-popping $40 million that we can use towards making dreams a reality. But I'm going to start with the smallest one first. Now, this one is not a dream. It's not a snooze. It's a head bob where somebody wakes up and says, oh my goodness, I need a radio for the maintenance crew. I need a small piece of equipment. And that's what we use this small amount for, which is small compared to what we've just been talking about, and that is zero emission buses. Back in December, we took to the board an action item where we said we would like to purchase, well, we have to purchase 60 replacement buses, and we want them to be zero emission over the next 5 years. When I went to the board, I had cobbled together enough money to place our first order of about 12 buses. And now with the formula funds that we're getting, plus this huge award that we're getting through Bus and Bus Facilities, I'm able to come a lot further. And matter of fact, out of that $80 million that I'm going to need over the next 5 years, I'm getting pretty close to that dollar amount. So I'm still a little short, but we've got a couple years to make it right. Now, during the capital project or process, Brad came to me and said, how about we take our support vehicles, our supervisor vehicles, our sedans that we use, and can we have those be zero emission as well? So I took a look into that, and I think we can do a capital lease, which would be federally funded, save us a lot of money. So it's something I'm going to explore further. And we've programmed in to start with $100,000 to make that a reality. Now, in order to support all this electric vehicles or zero emission vehicles, we need to have charging equipment. And we need to, and you've probably heard us talk about this, a way to capture all this wonderful sunlight that we have in Florida. So I've already set aside about $2.5 million previously. Now I'm setting aside $4.6 million, and we're going to be able to do a wonderful, wonderful solar panel project. And it's part of a bigger project I call the solar system, where we'll be looking for money for some battery storage. And you'll be hearing in the coming days about having a way to make the grid and the infrastructure work for all of this. Now, one of the other things we've been successful at is getting some money for en route chargers, and that was through an earmark. So that can help address, whether it be on our property or somebody else's property, a way to recharge electric buses on the different routes. In addition, in support of these buses, we want to make sure the buses we have are up to date on technology. So we've got some money set aside for equipment replacement that allows the buses to talk with such things as Transit app, to be able to work with Wi-Fi and Flamingo and everything technology. We also have a software we use here on the transportation side of the house called Hastis. So it's that time where we have to do an upgrade every 5 years, and these things cost quite a bit of money. In addition, we want to make sure that the community and the people we serve are as comfortable as possible in the sunlight. So we always set aside money for the purchase of shelters. We also want to make sure that for mobility management, we're able to use some federal funds. They have a little bit of frequent flyer miles on them. The federal funds come from the federal government to the state of Florida and then to PSTA, and we use this money to pay for our mobility management personnel. In addition, I'm setting aside money for our Clearwater Transit Center. And we're really appreciative of the fact that all of you were very supportive of replacing our Park Street terminal. We have a huge grant application in, I'm feeling very positive about, and this will help to sort of close the gap on funding that huge project. In addition, I set aside a little bit of money for project and grant administration with my grants personnel each year. And last but not least, the planning department is where it all starts and where it all not ends, but begins again. So the planning department updates our transit studies. They work on different plans so that we can make a lot of these dreams a reality going forward. And with that, I will take some questions. But before I do, this is a listing of sort of a timeline. So I will be taking this to the public hearing on Thursday. The board will get to vote on it. We have to have all the grant applications in by the end of June so that we may be able to use them with FTA approval at the beginning of our fiscal year. And with that, I'll take any questions or comments.
All right, if anybody has questions or comments, again, you can raise your virtual hand. I have one question, and I'm sure it's going to be the question that many on this call would have. I maybe missed it, but I didn't see in your presentation expanded service. Would that have been in there? Because we know that that is something that many in this committee are interested in, is expanding service, current service.
That is not a capital item. So
Okay.
Our program or project is primarily on capital side.
Got it.
So in order to expand service, we'll need more money. And I'm happy to always get more money to expand some service. You might be seeing some of that coming forth as we look at being very creative in how we handle things here, though.
Good. All right. Does anybody else have any questions that they'd like to mention or ask right now? You can unmute yourself too if you're not able to raise your hand. Gloria, come on in.
I just wanted to thank Debbie as always. I'm always amazed at what she's able to do with the numbers. Fabulous. We are so lucky to have her doing our numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I just present them, Gloria, but thank you. It's really a team effort. Cassandra is wonderful working, and the whole planning team with, either working with the funding agencies, putting together amazing grant applications, along with the support from our project office, our maintenance folks, et cetera. But it's a great story to tell. And I said to Brad, this is an exciting list of projects. And every time I'm faced with a challenge, it seems like we're able to pull it together. It may not be in one day, but it does happen.
Mm-hmm. That's great. You guys must be, it seems like everybody there is so thrilled about this, and that's great. Anybody else have any questions or comments regarding the capital project funding? Okay, so let me switch over to this. Okay, now we'll go over to any member comments. If there's just any other general comments that some of our members would like to bring to staff at this time. Gloria, come on back in.
Sorry, I've been chatty today. I just had one real quick thing I wanted to tell everybody. I was on a cruise, and we happened to have been in Costa Rica. Now, these were the people on our cruise ship, but my husband was wearing the ball cap that said PSTA on it that we'd gotten as part of the collection of stuff. And a man said, PSTA, what does that stand for? And we said, Pinellas on Costa. He goes, well, he said, I live in West Virginia now, but I'm from St. Pete. And he said, and he recognized it. He said, I used to ride the bus to school all the time. And he said, it was wonderful to see it. So even in Costa Rica, people knew PSTA.
That's great. Anybody else have any other comments they'd like to bring to staff or for the good of the order at this time?
I'll just put a reminder next month. We're going to meet in person. We're going to return to in person in the auditorium on June 14th.
I'm going to try to be there. We'll see. If not, I'll be on the little box again.
We will Zoom you in if you can't make it.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So with that, we're going to close our meeting with that reminder that our next meeting is on June 14th at 4 p.m. And we hope to see you in person. Thanks so much for attending today.
Thank you, Mark. Bye.
Have a good week.
Bye, everybody.